All right, and we are back here at the OHIO podcast, and I am now joined by Sky U Pod. See, I knew I was going to mess it up.
It's
Sky
all
U
right.
Pod, Kurt and Max from Sky U Pod. Guys, thanks so much for joining us here in the OHIO podcast.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
thanks
us.
for having us on.
So 5-5 Minnesota, the Fighting PJ Flex roll their boat into Columbus, Ohio this Saturday. 10-0 Ohio State. I'll be honest, I was hoping the Buckeyes would get to this point in the season and be 10-0. I knew we were going to have some tough games ahead of us. I did not foresee Minnesota coming to this point of the season at 5-5. And I don't say that as, trying to downgrade what you guys have accomplished this season, but I just thought you guys would be a little bit better than maybe what your record shows. How did we get here?
Yeah, well, first things first, as PJ will tell you, we have had some injuries. Everyone does, but just through whatever reason, linebacker especially, we're really thin. So we lost Cody Lindenberg is really the only good linebacker I think you can say we have right now, and he's played 2 games, and that was the Illinois and Michigan State game, I believe, right, Max? Michigan
Yep,
State's the first
that's
one to
yep.
come back. Yeah. So behind him, we were young, and then we had Maverick step in for him, and he had been gaining experience as a redshirt freshman playing well, and then Purdue he went down, and so once our top two middle linebackers are gone, it's been really pretty rough linebacker play. So that's the first thing. Second thing is probably some inconsistent quarterback play, I would say.
Yeah.
Athan's had some terrific first halves to games and also some terrific throws on the season, but there's just too many plays that are there to maybe go ice the game. 2 in a row against Illinois, he had a chance to put that game away, couldn't get it done. And then just the second half, really all season has been a struggle for him. So that's probably a mix of new offensive coordinator, QB combo there. And really just the pass coverage in general on this team is not very good. It's looked great against Iowa and Nebraska. That's not taking a shot against them, but it's just, you know, has not looked good against teams that can actually throw the football down the field. And
Yeah.
it's weird because we have good players in on that side of the ball, especially Tyler Nubin, Justin Wally, both players in the secondary. Just for whatever reason, when teams have wanted and needed to throw the ball against us, we just can't stop the big play. So, that being said, I'm really looking forward to see what Marvin Harrison can do against this secondary this Saturday. So, um, I'll let Max touch on anything else he wants to throw in there, but I would say just those are the three biggest things.
Yeah. It's really when the ball's in the air on both sides, offensively and defensively, have been the biggest weaknesses. It seems like our biggest strengths this year have been the defensive line play, but when teams start throwing on us, or they stop running, I should say, like Purdue did, they didn't even, they were able to run on us actually last week too, which was pretty disappointing. But it feels like when our strengths, you know, aren't there for a game, everything else just falls apart. We saw like when Darius Taylor went down, he looked like he was going to be the next stud running back for the Gophers, and then once he got hurt, it was like, well, now what do we do? I know Jordan Newman had a good game, probably won a couple weeks, but it just
Yeah.
seems like overall everything's just been inconsistent. It seems like when things go bad, they just get worse. There's no recovering when things start to go south on this team. I don't know if it's coaching or the players or just whatever it is. It just seems like mentally when things start to slip a little bit, panic sets in, or just you know, the inexperience of not knowing how to handle those situations seems like it's really taken a toll on this team.
I'm kind of surprised that Minnesota. Let me back up. I was thinking that PJ Fleck, after losing Mo Ibrahim, would go back to throwing the football more. I remember the days when Minnesota, not that long ago, had a prolific passing game. And then maybe it was just the fact that the offensive line was as beefy and experienced as you had, coupled with the fact that you had a stud running back in Mo Ibrahim that led to PJ kind of doing the whole Midwest run the football no matter what offense. I thought he would go back to passing more, and it just seems like you guys are bound and determined to run the football this year. In the games I've watched, am I
Yeah.
reading the room right there?
Yeah, PJ has the biggest trust issues out of it. anyone in the Big Ten. Even if we have skill relatively to what we've had at receiver this year. It's the deepest receiver room outside of that 2019 year where we had Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson. It's the deepest receiver room we've had. He doesn't want to give it a shot, and not that he won't give it a shot. I mean, we'll throw Ethan like 20 times a game, but yeah, he's going to pound the football, and he wants to in that time of possession. It's just what he trusts, and he feels like that's what has to be done every game to give us the best chance of winning, which is unfortunate because I feel like we could get Daniel Jackson the ball more often. He's that good of a player, but yeah, even if it's our fifth string running back, he's going to focus on getting them the football as much as he can.
This is just interesting to me. So, Max, let me ask you the follow-up question to that. Where's the fan base then in its patience with PJ Fleck? On one hand, he's brought you a consistent winner, and then on the other hand, it seems like this year there's been a major step backward.
Yeah, no, there definitely has been. I think from a lot of Gopher fans, you'll probably be pretty split. Either people want him gone yesterday, or they think he should get a new contract because we beat Iowa. Realistically, yeah, I mean he's brought us some good talent. He's had some good seasons, but the last 2 years and including this year, it's just kind of stalled out. And whether it's the new transfer portal era or NIL or whatever the changes may be, whatever excuses he might throw out there, uh, the only thing that's consistently stayed the same is his game plan and his mentality, which has lost us games. His overprotectiveness of the football. He harps so much on keeping control of the football that he won't go for it on fourth down in opposing territory to win the football game, a la Northwestern. So
Yeah.
from the fan base perspective, when we see things that don't work, and he, every press conference will say, it starts with me, it starts with me. And when he doesn't change that, I feel like the fans that pay attention kind of get sick of him just saying the same thing over and over again and not getting a different result. But I'm sure if we go and beat Wisconsin, that'll all be forgotten by the fans that tune in every other week.
So, to excuse me, I got a cough tonight all of a sudden. To speak to that a little bit, PJ Fleck is a disciple of Jim Tressel, who we know very well here in Columbus, Ohio. And it feels like to me that PJ wants to play Tressel ball, which Tressel's favorite play was the punt. Like he unapologetically would tell you that that every possession should end with a kick, whether that be an extra point, a field goal, or a punt. Like he preached, do not turn the football over to the point where he was unwilling to take chances, and it might have cost us football games later in his tenure at Ohio State. And I feel like I'm almost kind of watching the same thing happen to PJ Fleck in
100%.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
So,
references Jim Tressel a lot when he's talking about him. So yeah,
every coach who ever coached with him does. Like that, like taking football out of it, Jim Tressel is an amazing human being.
Yeah.
He has a photographic memory, and if he meets you, he'll remember you years later and call you out by name. Like hundreds of thousands of people he does that to. So he's a unique human being with a very different level of, shall I say, I'll just say he's a Christian man in a sport where there's not very many of them, and so he comes across very different to a lot of people, and it positively affects them. So I'm not surprised that he references Jim Tressel a lot. A lot of his coaches do on his tree.
And Jim Tressel's a great coach. The problem with that though, if you want to go full Tressel ball, our special teams are nowhere near at the level of play that they need to be to make that successful. I mean, I say this as a joke, but I really think that PJ is in love with the Iowa football model. Like he wants to run the ball, even when it's not working, and then just play amazing defense and punt all the time. But our special team units have really never been up there at the top of any statistic in the Big Ten in his 7-year tenure here. So that's probably the biggest frustration you'll see from the Gopher football fan base is if you're going to commit to that style of ball, you got to get the special teams right, and he won't move off of our current special teams coordinator. So,
Interesting.
and it doesn't look like it's going to change. So I don't know how that's going to get better. We complain about it every year on our podcast, but it doesn't change.
Yeah, that's super interesting actually. Let's just hypothetically, Max, if Minnesota stands a chance to win this game on Saturday, what's the blueprint here for Minnesota to pull the shocker?
Well, we're going to need a lot of help, a lot of Ohio State mistakes. Just to be honest, I mean, it's going to be. We kind of talked about it when we played Michigan, right? Like we had to play the perfect game to even have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
No turnovers, big chunk plays, big explosive touchdowns. We had to force a lot of punts, and we were going to have to prevent, any type of big explosive play when we're on defense. And I feel like for Ohio State, that's so much greater because you guys do have Marvin Harrison Jr. and a high-powered offense that can gash you. It seems like whenever you guys want. So defensively, it's going to need to be multiple interceptions, multiple fumble recoveries. Offensively, if we can hit a deep pass a couple times, maybe get a deep shot, maybe do trick plays, I have no idea. It's going to take a miracle. But really, as long as we can play really outside of what PJ has done all year long, which is to play not conservatively, if we can do that, take a couple shots, go for it on fourth down. I mean, at this point too, really have to play like we have nothing else to lose, which other than a bowl game, we really don't.
Kurt, so the Big Ten West, help me try to understand what's happening over there in the last year. By the way, the Iowa podcast, they don't like me because I point out every single week how bad their offense is, despite the fact that they're 7-2 or 8-2 now, and I do have them in the top 25, and I think I have them fourth in the Big Banter Power rankings. But gosh, defensively they're phenomenal. I mean, every week I watch them defensively, and I'm like, man, what a great team. But offensively, they're absolutely dog poop. So that's where that comes from with poking that bear. But which I thoroughly enjoy because it's nothing against him. I just don't like the state of Iowa at all for personal reasons. But
preaching to the choir here.
Right. Yeah, all the other Big Ten West teams, when I tell them that, they're always like, yeah. But anyways, besides that, what? Help me try to understand what's happening in the West. Like every week, I'm like, well, I didn't foresee that happening. Like every week, it's like crazy. Is it just so like the argument that I got from the Purdue guys is it's because it's so evenly matched and it's better than everybody thinks. But I still look at it and I'm like, I don't see great football. So from week to week, I see good defense.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
That's fair. I don't think anyone in the West is going to fight you too hard that it's great football happening this year. Because I think there's years prior. Go back to that 2019 season. I think the West was pretty good that year, and I think the bowl record shows that too. But
everyone won a bowl in the Big Ten except for the team up north.
Yeah,
that year.
Yeah. But no, this year. It's tough as a Gopher fan because we have the least excuse out of anybody, I feel like. I was doing what I was going to do, play great defense, great special teams. At the end of the day, they get the dub. And I think they would give other teams fits that don't see them a lot defensively. I don't know what they would, if they played, what's an average team in another conference right now? If they went up against like a Washington State or Arizona or someone that's solid, like that in another conference.
Sure, yeah.
Arizona, yeah. I think they would definitely have a chance to win, but it was going to be like a 16-12 type of game.
Right.
But I believe their defense is that capable. I just think that right now it's just such a coin flip as to how these teams are going to show up, and it's like they're all good at exposing a certain weakness in each other right now in the Big Ten West. I think the Gopher secondary has been exposed against Northwestern, Illinois, and Purdue. Arguably the three weakest teams in the Big Ten West, but now, I mean, we're right there as well, so I can't harp on that too much. it's just, yeah, I don't think either of these offenses are great in the Big Ten one. I think it starts there, and then Iowa's maybe the most consistent team, and that's why they're on top. I think Illinois is making a little bit of an improvement here as we get late. So is Northwestern, but yeah, no, I don't think, I've usually kind of defended the Big Ten West. This year, it is seeming to be like a lot of transitional years for teams. Maybe the Gophers' excuse is first year with Athan, new offensive coordinator. Purdue's got the brand new head coach. Northwestern's got a new head coach. Wisconsin's got the new head coach. So I think all those factors play into it, where the last year of the West is just kind of going out, depending on how you look at it, with a bang or just an epic, thought of the quality of football you're seeing out of it. So
Nebraska's got one too. So
Nebraska as well. Yep.
Yeah. Crazy. All right, Max, let me ask this one here as we get ready to head out. So let's be realistic. If Ohio State plays like they did last week against Michigan State, it's going to be over by halftime, which is what we want right now, because we have our eyes set on that big end of November game against the Wolverines. And the last thing we need to do is have like a major injury or something happen to one of our stars. And obviously, I don't think PJ Fleck's telling his guys, "Hey, go into Columbus and play dirty." I don't think that at all.
No.
I also think that this game is interesting for you guys because looming out ahead is the big rivalry for you guys against Wisconsin, and it might be like winner goes to a bowl game type of scenario here. So that being said, what do you foresee the end of this year being like for PJ Fleck? If you exit Columbus with an L, you're 5-6, but you go into that game against Wisconsin 5-7, like, are we like you got 1 year left type of thing, or 6-6, all's forgiven, we beat the Badgers, we go to a bowl game, we're on we're kind of on that move in the right direction again. Am I reading that correctly, Max?
Probably for most of Gopher fans, that will be the case, just because Iowa and Wisconsin are the two biggest games of the year for us. It seems like we've said, even in down years, if we can win one of those, it makes up for the terrible, terrible losses we've had. For me personally, I still will be very disappointed in this season, no matter what, even if we do beat the Badgers and win a bowl game. But yeah, I think realistically, I do think that people will start looking at PJ a little bit closer and saying, why are we not doing, why are we not changing the things that you said we were going to change? If we do lose to Wisconsin too, that will really put a pretty big exclamation point on an already negative season. And depending on how we lose too, I think we tend to lose games in such a fashion that is just so heartbreaking that, if it's a special teams mistake at the end of the game, or, just a miscommunication or a penalty or something that happens, that everyone can look at PJ and say, what are you doing? How did you cost us this last game to miss a bowl game? Then I think people will start to look at him a little bit more closely and kind of, speculate what's going to happen next. Hopefully we do come up with the win against Wisconsin. Hopefully we go to an okay enough bowl game and, finish the season on a high. And we can just forget about this and move on to whatever the future of the Big Ten is going to be. But yeah, I mean, realistically, PJ's kind of, we've seen across college football when teams go idle, even when they've had success in the past, or they've been more successful than the previous regimes, staying stagnant is just not, you're not going to stick around forever. I know PJ wants to be the coach like a Kirk Ferentz or like a Mike Gundy that's going to stay at one place for a long time. And I hope he does. I think that, consistency, especially at the University of Minnesota, is huge. But if it's stagnant or starts slipping, he's not keeping up with the rest of the Big Ten, which is now going to be, filled with a lot more talented teams too, then if we have to look in another direction in the future, near future, then that's just kind of how college football goes.
Yeah. Kurt, in closing, I'd like to get your opinion on this. So Ohio State fans who maybe haven't watched Minnesota very much this year, who are some names and some guys that we need to be aware of come Saturday?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Big Ten East fans haven't seen enough of him to know him yet. But Daniel Jackson, as I mentioned, he's our receiver number one. He is a really good player. Like I said, I wish we focused on getting him the ball more. He was a 4-star out of Kansas when we got him, and he's just gotten better and better each time. He's become receiver number 1. Our left tackle, Ursary, he's actually pretty good as well. Look for him to hold his own somewhat, right? I mean, Ohio State's a little bit of a different animal, but he is in PJ's words, he's got the most NFL potential he's seen in alignment at this point in his career. So he's a really athletic left tackle. And then on the defensive side of the ball, he just doesn't show up in the sack department, but Jaw Joyner gets a ton of pressure. He's a guy I think all the Big Ten coaches know for sure. He seems to be a focus point of blocking, but he's a great pass rusher. And then first year starter, I should say, Devin Eastern, D tackle, is also a solid football player. So those are the 3 names or 4 names I'd throw out just as guys to watch that maybe Ohio State doesn't know about. And then of course, we got Tyler Nubin on the back end. He's been doing his thing for the most part, but yeah, those are some guys we got that are pretty good, which is not clicking for the whole units this year. So,
well, Max, are you ready to give me a score prediction?
I can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be a tough game. Going to the Horseshoe, obviously for anyone, is not easy. I predict to go for loss. Like you said, you guys want to get it over by halftime so you can get on the next week. So I don't see PJ Fleck really being able to do anything to prevent that, unfortunately. I think we leave after an ass kicking 48-6 Buckeyes.
Ooh. Kurt, you wanna put your 2 cents in there?
Yeah, sure. Kind of the same point. You say that you guys want to get through this game as quick as possible. It's about as close to a bye week as I think you guys could get. PJ, I think, wants to get out of here as quick as possible as well. He wants everyone that's questionable is not going to play in this game. He wants everyone full go for that Wisconsin game, push for the bowl win and the trophy.
We're going to do the exact same thing. I guarantee it.
Yeah, well, that makes me feel a little better. Maybe I'll go. I had 42-7. I don't know if we actually get the touchdown, but I'm thinking maybe one 40-yard pass to Daniel Jackson on a man-on-man coverage route gets us the score. But yeah, I really think that this game can get as ugly as Ohio State wants because you're gonna gash us heavy in the run game this week. Just with Cody Lindbergh's not going to play again. I'm pretty sure PJ at this point is going to redshirt him. He can because he's only played in 2 games. So save that year of eligibility for the future. So I think, whatever running backs you guys want to use out there, they're going to have good days against us. And then if you want to show off Marvin Harrison Jr. and put him up there for the Heisman race, you'll probably have a lot of success doing that as well. So it could be worse, or it could be like a 35-0, just get in and get out type thing.
Well, hey, where can everybody catch the Sky U Pod at, guys?
Yeah, we're on YouTube now, so at Sky U Pod there, and then also Sky U Pod on anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify are the main 2. And then we also are on Twitter. I run the Twitter, so if you see an opinion you don't like, it's mine. I keep it sports though. I keep it sports. So that's at Sky U Pod 1 on Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling now. But yeah. That's where you can find us.
I'm still trying to get that changed over in my head. I'm really struggling with that. It's like because it's still called a tweet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on there and I always see people calling it Twitter, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's just a big X on my phone now when I'm looking for it on my phone to open the app, and I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. All right, Kurt, Max, thank you so much, guys, for joining in and check out their podcast, guys, and enjoy the game this weekend as much as you can. It's gonna be it's on the Big Ten Network too. So
I said to the boys, I'm like, you're having a rough season when you play Ohio State second to last game of the year and it's on the Big Ten Network. Like that's just an indication that your season is not going well.
There you go, guys. All right, man. Appreciate it so much. Thanks.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.